Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome to the Truth Conversations No One Likes to Have. I am your host, Evangelist Shawana Britsha. Hey, we're going to get started here in just a few minutes. Do me a favor while you're coming in. Greet us. Let us know where you're watching us from. And also, while you're doing that, go ahead and hit that like, share button for me. Share this conversation with friends and family. Listen, tonight is going to be an amazing conversation. I'm excited for the guest that we have, Miss Michelle Gant, who's going to be sharing her story, her truth tonight. So, again, do me a favor. Go ahead and let us know where you're tuning in from. Additionally, also go ahead and hit that like button, hit that heart, and share. Because I'm telling you, you all do not want to miss this conversation. Again, we like to have conversations that no one likes to have, but they're needed and they're necessary. Amen. All right. So let me see who's coming in because I see y'all coming in. Y'all coming in quickly. I miss y'all. I wasn't on last week. So let's see. All right. So let me see who's coming y'all in. Hear me? I see y'all coming That's in. That's my phone. Quickly. Hey, Miss April. I see people coming in. Let us know where you are tuning in from. I know Miss April. Hey, Miss April. Hey, everybody. Welcome. To those that are also on YouTube, because let me just address my YouTube followers as well. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Oftentimes, I focus so much on Facebook and I forget my audience on YouTube. So tonight, please forgive me because I never shout you all out, but good evening to those that are on YouTube as well. Come on in. All right. We're going to give it about 2 more minutes and then we will get started with our live broadcast. I have some theme music, y'all. I just haven't learned how to add it yet. I got to get tech savvy so I can add my theme music. I would sing for you, Michelle, but then people may log off.
Girl, you know you can sing.
No, ma'am. Well, who told you that?
On TikTok.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, Janie. Hey, Alicia. Hey, ladies. I hope I said her name right. I will mess her name up. But good evening, ladies. Again, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Truth Conversations No One Likes to Have. I am your host, Evangelist Shawana Britsha. And today, joining me on this live broadcast is Michelle Gant. I am so honored to have her tonight. I'm excited for her to come on. When I originally reached out to Michelle, Michelle said she had to think about it. She had to pray about it. And so when she got back to me and she said, I'm ready, I said, okay, the Lord answered and said, it's time. So first of all, let me just say this. Thank you, Michelle, for coming on tonight, because I know that this is a conversation that is tough for us to have, but I know it's needful and I know it's necessary. But I want to commend you, first of all, for your courage and your bravery for coming on to talk about suicide prevention. And then also, I call it the I Love Me movement. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
So y'all pray for Michelle because she acting like she's shy, but she got another side to her. She ain't shy. So, Michelle, we're here tonight to talk about suicide prevention and the impact it has and the impact that it has had in your life. I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but I never knew my grandfather, my mother's father, but I've been told a lot of things about him. But additionally, um, he went into the military doing World War, I don't know which one what it was, but it was, I think, believe the Vietnam War. And, if you ever heard the stories about some of the soldiers that, came back home after that, it was, they were very mentally challenged. I'll say it like that, right? So my grandfather, came back home from war, and apparently was having some mental challenges in his life, and turned to alcohol a lot to function, and ended up taking his life. And I share that story because I know it had a great impact on my mother. Um, because I've seen, I've seen it, throughout the years. But let's talk about suicide prevention and what that means to you.
Suicide prevention means to me is educating yourself, knowing what to look for, how to help others, how to help
Mhm.
yourself. Because the thing with suicide is no one likes to talk about it, but you can't change anything you don't talk about.
That's true. That's true. That's true. You can't change anything you talk about. I don't know the household that you came up in, but I up in the old school household where what goes on in his house stays in his house. So you don't talk about, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Certain situations or certain issues. And I think, especially in our time coming up, people didn't talk about mental illness at all, right? People just would say, oh, they crazy. And that would not always be, you know what I'm saying, the case or whatever. But can you just share a little bit about your story and the I Love Me movement?
Okay, so 2022,
Hmm.
tragedy struck my family, and my son took his own life.
Okay.
And after my son passed away, I learned a lot about suicide that I didn't previously know. I didn't know that my son was struggling. I didn't know that I didn't have any signs
Okay.
previously before he passed away, or that I knew were signs. There was a lot of things that I looked back at that were
Mhm.
signs, but I didn't realize they were signs. And so, maybe about a month before my son passed, I had a conversation with my son,
Okay.
and I basically told him, hey, you can talk to me about anything.
Okay.
I said, I don't care what it is, you can talk to me. So this was one of the last conversations I had with my son.
Wow.
One of his close friends had took his own life. And so after I found out about his passing, and that was what brought me to have this conversation. I'll never forget it. My son looked at me and he said, Mama, I never do nothing to me. He grabbed his chin. He's like, I love me. And so that is where I love me comes from. Because if you to know Tridarius, he had a personality like no other. His
Um,
football coaches gave him the nickname Smiley when he was younger because he always had a smile on his face. He was never
yeah.
a sad child. He was never down.
Hmm.
And he had a very caring and compassionate spirit. He always tried to look out for other people and take care of others. So that's where the I love me came from.
Yeah.
So when normally when someone passed away, we always their death anniversary be like, hey, this is another year that they passed. So
Yeah.
this year I decided I wasn't celebrating my son's death anymore. I
Oh,
decided I wasn't giving it any more energy. I wasn't giving it any more of my time.
yeah.
So my son passed away on May the 16th.
Hmm.
So in May, I came up with an event called Tri Day, and that was an event that was made to honor Tridarius' life, not his death. So
Gotcha.
every year when his anniversary comes around, instead of celebrating the death, I'm going to celebrate his life and who he was. And so that's how Tri Day came apart, and that's where I Love Me came from. And so I kind of wanted to push that to help people learn how to love themselves and learn how to
Mm,
self love and just being able to love you so that you
yeah.
can prevent suicide and you can have healthy mental wellness in order to be okay even when you're not okay. You have that love to fall back on because you built that up within yourself.
Okay. Can you tell us, because you said something that really sparked something. You said his coaches called him Smiley because he always had a smile on his face. Tell us about who he was when he was around y'all. Like, just let us know how he was as a person.
Tridarius was a jokester. He loved to do pranks. He loved to
Mm-hmm.
make people laugh. He was never really upset. It took a lot for Tridarius to get upset. Like he was very chill, laid back.
Mm-hmm.
He would blow stuff off and he would just make a joke out of anything. Even when you didn't feel like playing, Tridarius was that one. Tridarius was gonna play. Tridarius was my child that he didn't care about hanging out with mama. He didn't care. He was gonna pull up on me no matter where I was at. And for
Yeah.
y'all that don't know, Tridarius was born on my birthday. So like every year we would celebrate our birthdays together. And so Tridarius didn't
Yeah.
care if I was with my adult friends, he gonna pull up. Where you
Yeah.
at, mama? And that's just the type of person that he was. He had, a lot of friends. He was always, his personality is what I remember the most about Tridarius. He just had a very funny, charismatic, charming, great personality.
I love how you said instead of celebrating his death, you're going to celebrate his life. I love that. And I don't know why I did not know, that. And you probably said that to me before, but I don't know why I didn't remember that. But I love that because you're right. A lot of times, um, we will, yearly when somebody has passed that's close and dear to us, we'll, celebrate, you know, the anniversary or, or even their birthdays and stuff like that. So I love the fact that instead of saying, hey, I'm going to be sad today, I'm going to celebrate the memory of who he was and who he was to me and who he was to my family and things like that. In your opinion, what are some key signs that someone may be struggling with mental health? How can loved ones better support them during those times? Like, like in your research, have you found out like what are some key signs?
There's a few. So one is changes in behavior. Any
Okay.
changes in behavior. If a person is normally always happy, but now they're sad or become distant, or they don't want to hang around with their friends, or they're not doing what they normally would do if they're the life of
Mhm.
the party. Now all of a sudden they don't want to go anywhere. They don't want to hang around. I'm just chilling. That's a big sign. Or the lack thereof. So like if they're normally quiet and reserved, and all of a sudden they're acting erratically. Now they're the party animal. Now they want to go out and just be all over the place and cause a scene. Those are red flags.
Okay.
If someone tells you they don't want to be a burden, and that's a red flag. If
Mm.
they start selling things that are important to them, all of a sudden getting rid of all of their possessions, that's a sign.
Oh, wow.
Um, Anything that would strike a change. So what's another one? Anger, acting erratically. Of course, depression is always one, but suicide does not always look like depression. So you can't
Okay.
basically always say someone's sad because that's not always the case. Most
Yeah.
of the time, it's not the sad ones, it's the happy ones. It's the ones that are hiding behind their smiles. They can put up a facade, they can put up on a mask, and they can act like they have it all together. And most of the time, you ask them, they're okay, I'm good. Those are the ones
Yeah.
that are struggling.
Wow. Wow. So it really takes knowing the key signs and really having that spirit of discernment to say, wait a minute, something's off. To be able just
You
to pick
really
up.
have to be in tune at all times.
Mhm.
My hindsight is different now. Like I don't
Okay.
look at things the same. I probably am more attentive than the normal, but I try to teach people that don't wait till tragedy hits you for you to be like that. I
Yeah.
feel like, everyone should be educated. There's so many suicide prevention trainings that are free of charge, that you don't have to be a clinician, you don't have to be a healthcare provider, just me being so focused on trying to break the stigma of suicide. I've taken several trainings.
Mhm.
I took assist training, which is assisted suicide intervention specialist. And one of the things that stuck out to me during that training was there was this scenario in the film that we watched, and it was a college student, and he was stressed about classes and just exams, and like he was really going through it.
Mhm.
And after class, he stopped his professor and asked him if he could talk to him for a second.
Mhm.
One of the faculty walked up at the same time and he dismissed the boy.
Mm.
So he didn't stop enough to see if it was something urgent, if it was something important. He was like, "I'll talk to you tomorrow." Well, he didn't make it till tomorrow.
Wow.
And had he stopped and seen what it was, if this is something, and we have to be like, just don't be so quick to turn people off when they are coming to you to reach out. Make sure it's not something urgent before you say, "Hey, I'll call you later."
Yeah.
That's something that stuck out to me, because most of the time, naturally, you'll be like, "Hey, I'll get to you later." But just make sure it's not something urgent, because sometimes a simple conversation can change someone's, whether they're going to do it or not going to do it.
Yeah. But what if you even ask that question, hey, is this urgent? But they still make it seem like what you said earlier, they don't want to be a burden. You know what I'm saying? But it really is urgent. You still, how do you know? You know what I'm saying? Because they may call you or they may text you and you say, hey, I'm busy right now. Is this urgent? And they're like, oh no, no, no. It can wait, but it really can't wait. So it can.
That's where you have to pick up on body language. And so
Mhm.
I can kind of tell when something's off.
Okay.
When I talk to people, and like, I'll stop what I'm doing and be like, "Hey, it's okay. I have a moment, to
Yeah.
do that." And so whoever else needs me, it would have to wait, because I actually had someone I helped recently, and
Hmm.
I knew she was not okay. I just, like, she kept saying, "I'm okay, but I just knew,
Yeah.
because of the things that I was seeing and the behaviors that I was seeing.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me say this. You have been doing some amazing things in the community, and um, this week you are doing a suicide prevention walk. Let's talk about that. Um, what made you come up with the idea to do the walk? And because I know that there are different walks that take place in the community, but what gave you that courage to say, hey, I am going to create a suicide prevention walk?
So my walk came out of frustration. So
Okay.
2 years ago, it was the first year after my son passed. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, they have their own walk every year.
Okay.
And I wanted to attend that walk, but Tradera's daughter's birthday is in September as well.
Mm.
So the walk fell on the day of her party. And I really, really wanted to go to that walk. It was on my heart very, and I remember sitting at my desk, when I found out what time and day her party was. I knew I didn't want to miss her birthday either, because it was her first birthday party. And I was so frustrated. I sat at my desk in tears, and I called my best friend and I told her about it. And she was like, "Michelle, don't be upset." And I was like, "I am, though." And I remember getting off the phone with her, and I was still crying. And I said, "I'm going to start my own walk."
Hmm.
And so I did. So that first year, I had my own walk. I actually had my walk that year. It wasn't a big event like I have now, so I really don't count that one. But so in that first year, I had that one, and me and a couple of my friends and family, we got shirts made. We went to Seville Square. We walked. I said a few words, and that was the start of it. And so
Okay.
after that, I was just like, I had so many people reach out to me. It was like, "I didn't know you was doing that. I would have came. I would have came." And so I was like, "Okay, I'll have it next year." And so I decided to do a annual walk. And so last year I launched my annual walk event. So I counted that one as my first one, even though it was my second one. And then this year is my second one, which really is my third. But the first one was just like a simple walk. And then, like, I wanted the walk to be more than just a walk. I didn't want to just be a walk and you leave. I wanted to be impactful. I wanted to be more uplifting and supportive for the family. So my walk is like an entire event. The walk
Okay.
towards the end, I have speakers that come out to talk to us about suicide prevention, but it's more uplifting and encouraging for suicide loss survivors, the ones that are left behind, because we
Yeah.
carry so much from the loss. I can't tell you how much my loss has turned my life around.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. So, what impact? Because you do more than the walk. You have the try day, you do the walk, and then you also meet. Is it weekly, or how many times out of the month you meet? You have like a group where you all meet, right? And you talk about suicide prevention, right?
So I have a monthly workshop that I do. I do it once a month where I teach on mental health awareness and suicide prevention. And
Okay.
then I also have a support group that I offer for suicide loss survivors and anyone that may be struggling with their mental health. That's
Okay.
also once a month.
So your story is a true story of what I would like to say your pain being turned into purpose.
Yes,
Definitely.
definitely.
Because I mean, you could not be doing anything, right? But you chose to, take that pain and turn it around where now other people's lives are being impacted. You're helping, like you said, suicide survivors, families, parents, such as yourself. And can you even talk about that? Like, what impact of you starting, the things that you have started have had on other maybe survivors or other people that maybe just didn't even have the information. You know what I'm saying? That didn't know, because a lot of stuff you're sharing tonight, I didn't know. So what kind of impact are you seeing or have seen that you're making?
So what I would say is try was birthed out of pain.
Hmm.
I had come to a point where after I had Tridarius, I became suicidal. And I had got stuck in my grief, and I felt like a failure as a parent. I felt like, I failed Tridarius. I felt like I didn't want to go on. And so I was diagnosed with broken heart syndrome after I lost Tridarius. And so my health started going downhill fast. And like things that I had never had issues with started bothering me. And
Yeah.
so I remember I was just like, what now? I felt like I've always honored the fact of being a mother. That's always been my hugest accomplishment. I love being a mother. And
Yeah.
so when I lost Tridarius, I felt like I had no more purpose here. I felt like if I couldn't be a parent, then what? And so when I became a parent, I put Michelle on the back burner. I set me on the back burner and I never picked her back up. So
Yeah.
when I lost Tridarius, I didn't know who Michelle was.
Mm.
So I remember I was like, God, what now? I was like, I have nothing left here. There's nothing for me to do. I don't have any more purpose here. And
Wow.
God gave me a vision. And it was in my sleep that He showed me that was how I was going to heal. It was to help other people.
Wow.
And so, no lie, once I started helping others, my pain started releasing. And
Wow.
I even got to a point where I became discouraged, and I was like, "Yeah, I just want to grieve. I don't really want to do this." And my
Yeah.
pain came back because I have chest pains from my broken heart syndrome. So my chest pains had went away, but when every time I stop, I can feel it again. And so
Wow.
it's just like that's what gives me peace. And so I decided that I was going to devote my life to bringing about change. I feel like I couldn't save my son, but I want to save others, and I wanted to prevent any other mother from going through this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how trial was birthed. And then I would say it's always my prayer for it's never about me. It's never about
Hmm.
Tridarius. It's all about the vision God gave me and being able to bring change and impact. And I feel like I have done that in more ways than one. Most recently, I had a client that had lost two sons within 6 months of suicide. And with the community's help, I was able to assist her with a second transition. We had a church that opened up their doors and was able to offer this family, repast free of charge. We fed her for 2 weeks free of charge. And the community really stood up and showed out and helped me be able to
Wow.
assist her. And so, like, even now to this day, I still communicate with her and follow up with her. And she was suicidal when I contacted her. So I was able to create a safety plan for her and just be able to walk her through that because, and that helping her that's where my passion really is helping people with lived experience, because you can call somebody all day and say, hey, I understand, but if you haven't walked them shoes, if you haven't,
Yeah.
you really don't. And so I become more relatable and more where they will open up because they know, hey, I really do understand, I really do um know how to walk them through that. And so that I try to assist any way I can. I really just as a natural thought. So I check on people more. I'm more in tune. Like if I see someone, like I won't call his name, but there's a recent pastor that had a huge loss.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew he was really close to this relative. And so yesterday I was just literally sitting here and God dropped him on my heart so bad. And so I so heavy. And so I was like, I just wanted to reach out to him because sometimes when we're in leadership, we just keep going. We just keep going with the motions. We don't take
That's
time
so
for
true.
us and to grieve.
That's
And
so true.
his wife was like, I'm so glad you called. But like, it was on my heart. So, but God does that. He'll put people on my heart
Yeah.
just to check on people. And I think that, people should just get in a normal routine of doing that, just checking on people, not necessarily want anything. Hey, I just called to
Yeah.
check on you. And as sad as it is with me doing the work that I do, some people are be shocked that that you're not calling them for nothing else, that you are like,
Yeah.
because it's so uncommon, and that's sad.
Yeah. 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 You said something I think that's so key when you talked about leadership. There, and I don't know, I don't have the numbers before me, but I actually did some research before on suicide. And I think it was because I was preparing for a message, but even in the Christian community, the numbers were, I won't say they were alarming, because we as believers, we lean and we depend so, strongly on our faith. And so when we see a brother or sister in Christ um go that route, sometimes I won't say it's alarming, but it may be confusing, definitely heartbreaking. But from a leadership aspect, there have been many stories where I've seen leaders, because we are so, what's the word I want to use? We're so used to carrying everybody else, right? And we're so used to being strong. And it is so important, like you said, to check on people, but especially your strong people.
The word, I don't like that word.
What's that?
I
Strong?
don't like the word strong because,
Well, but
when
that's the word
my son
that they
passed,
use.
yeah, everyone say, "Oh, you're so strong. You're so
Oh, yeah.
strong." What does strength really look like? So because you carry a lot, because you are
Hmm.
not taking care of yourself, that's not strength. Strength is being able to express yourself. Strength is being able to set those boundaries and knowing when you need to take time for yourself. Because pastors or evangelists or people in leadership, they're similar to a therapist. They listen to everybody else's problems. They
Hmm.
run a whole church or a congregation. They still got their own household to deal with, and they just
Hmm.
take.
Yeah.
Nobody sees when they need a break. Nobody notices anything. It's just like a normal routine, and they're so programmed to just keep going, just keep going. But that is so unhealthy. And there,
Yeah.
it's not talked about, but there is a huge suicide rate with pastors and with
Hmm.
churches. And a lot of churches don't like to talk about suicide. And
But
they
it's
don't.
needed.
It's very much needed. It's very much needed. So I took a training maybe like a month ago at Baptist Hospital, and we talked about suicide in the Black churches. And when I tell you,
Wow.
I recommend that training for every church. Like, it was so eye opening, and
Wow.
we dived into the Bible and all the stories of suicide in the Bible. You won't even realize, like,
Yeah.
it was very, very eye opening.
Yeah. And you're so right. I say the word strong because that's the word that people use all the time.
Mhm.
And,
That's how we were raised.
that's how we were raised. And
Mhm.
after, losing my brother and then losing other family members, I was hearing that word so much to me. And I got offended. I
Me
really
too.
did.
Me
I
too.
got offended because people kept saying, Shawana, you're so strong. Shawana, you're so strong. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Not. Mm-mm.
You perceive me to be strong based off of, because you see me keep going
Right.
and you don't see me quit, but you don't know the times I wanted to throw in the towel. You
Right.
don't know the times I'm on my face, I'm crying out to God saying, God, I can't go on, or God, I don't want to do this no more. Like, you're not there. So stop saying that, I'm strong. So I got offended by that. Because I'm like, no, I'm not strong. God is strong.
That's right. Yeah.
God is strong. He's in me and he's keeping me going. But
Right.
Shawana, in my own strength, I'm not strong.
Never. Yeah.
Listen, I be want to tell people, peace up, A-Town down. Bye. you you know how I am, Michelle. I sometimes be like, Lord, I don't want to do this. I'm tired. But because of who I am and the call that's on my life, I know that I can't do this in my own strength. And that each second that goes by, each minute that goes by, each hour, each day that goes by, I can look back through those days and say, God, you carried me through it. Because, even like I said, losing my brother, then losing all of the rest of the family members. Now, people have heard me say I've lost a total of 9 family members. Well, now that number has reached 10. And what do? You just
Right.
lean and you just depend on God to continue to get you through it, because I can't get through it. At the end of the day, I'm still choosing to live. And
Right.
so, but let me ask you this, Michelle. Um, what message would you want to share with other parents who may be dealing with similar pain or may not recognize the signs that their children are struggling with?
I would just recommend always having open communication, always making sure you see what you don't see.
Mhm.
So that means being all in their business. That means paying attention. It's almost as if you have to be a private investigator, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. You have to look for things without them saying a word. You have to be so in tune that you notice when things are off. And you, even when, especially with teenagers, because teenagers go through this stage, they don't want to talk to their parents. They think their parents don't know nothing. Like, we ain't been here, they feel like they got it all figured out and all together. And there's so many other things that are just leading to suicide, not just them taking their own lives. Fentanyl
Yeah.
is a huge one.
Say that
Vaping,
again. What?
fentanyl,
Fentanyl.
fentanyl is a big
Oh,
one that kids are accidentally overdosing, taking fentanyl. Vaping is leading to suicide. Um,
wait, hold on. You can't just pass that one now. Wait a minute. Wait,
yes,
Michelle, what?
yes,
Vaping?
vaping.
Is there like a certain type of, I don't even know, like the stuff that they put in the vapes that are
I don't know the specific ingredient that it is, but I recently spoke with a mother where her son passed away, and after he passed away, they found out it was linked to vaping because of some of the chemicals that is in vaping messes with your brain and the chemical imbalance in your brain.
wow.
Because most of the time, suicide is mental. It's something, your
Yeah.
mind not being regulated and your mind telling you things and you not knowing what's right and what's not. Because most of the time, you have voices speaking and you think you're going crazy, and talking to you, and you're thinking you're out of your head. But if you have other things that are altering your moods and your motives and your brain, that adds to it. A lot of things, drugs, people being under the influence, and complicated grief. That is a huge one. People not, when you have, I gotta speak on this real quick.
Go ahead.
Have family members that have lost someone, and you see them heavily grieving, like
Mhm.
they're openly grieving, like especially they don't know how to process their grief. They're not able to let that person, they're not able, they typically don't grieve, but they're always on Facebook talking about the person, or they're just not going to counsel, and they're not taking care of themselves. And that first year, them holidays, they don't need to be left alone. They don't
No.
need to be drinking if possible. And if so, they need to always be in someone's eyesight during the first year is so critical with every birthday, holiday,
Yeah.
and that's really overlooked because people say, "Oh, they party and they drink and they fine,"
They
and
not fine.
not. And so most of the time, when you drink or you smoke or whatever you do that adds to what your normal body would actually be able to process, you're intensifying the situation. So any emotions you have now, they're 5 times higher of what a little sadness could have been, can go spike all the way up because now it's intensified.
Yeah.
And if you're not in your right mental state of mind, you don't know how to handle those emotions. And before you knew it, you'll be inspired out, and there's no one there to be in a safe space, or no one
Yeah.
to be able to stop you from what you're doing.
Yeah. You, I'm glad you brought up grief because in my own experience, I talk about the dangers that, because we know that grief comes in different stages, right?
Right.
But I don't often hear people talk about the dangerous stage of grief. Is and there is a dangerous stage of grief that people can enter in um when grieving. And I felt like when I was grieving, I had entered that stage. And I call it I call it the dangerous stage of grief because it's the I don't care stage.
Yep.
It's the I don't care stage.
Especially if you've never had a huge loss and it's your first loss. And
Yeah.
because like when I lost my son, I didn't know what was happening. I had all these emotions. They were all over the place. I didn't know how to control them. I didn't know what I was feeling. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to process grief. I didn't even know what a stage of grief was.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was in denial. I didn't believe my son was dead because when I saw my son, he looked asleep. I literally wanted to dig my son's body out the grave, and everybody's like, "She crazy," but that's what I wanted to do. I went through the stage of being. I was mad at my son because I felt like, "Why you left me here?"
Yeah.
And it was like with suicide. I always tell people it's a much different than process of a normal grief because
Yeah.
you have a lot of displaced anger, a lot
Yeah.
of unanswered questions. You just
Yeah.
don't know why. And sometimes you'll never get those answers. You'll never
Yeah.
know. And so it brings up all of these different emotions. And sometimes you have multiple emotions all at one time. And you don't really feel like you're losing your mind
Yeah.
if you don't understand grief and how to process it. Because this was my first, I've had people die, but not to this extent. And so I
Yeah.
literally had to go learn what is grief. What are the stages of grief? Because I didn't know what I was feeling. I just knew that I feel like I was losing my mind, literally.
Yeah. And then even after you losing your son, it wasn't long that you lost your brother, right?
30 days.
So you still trying to process your feelings, your emotions, wrap your head around what took place with your son, and then 30 days later.
I couldn't process it. So when my brother passed, I couldn't even process it because I was still stuck on my son.
Yeah.
And like for a long time, I'm kind of coming around to it, but I didn't forgive myself until recently for my brother's death. And even though I didn't cause my brother's death, I pushed my brother away because the grief was so hard for my son. When my
Yeah.
son passed, my brother kept trying to come visit me, but I didn't feel like talking to anyone. So I pushed him away. So the last day that I saw my brother was at the crime scene when my son passed. I never saw him after that again.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So for a long time, I held on to that because me and my brother were extremely close. That was like my best friend. So I just felt like all of the years he was here for me, and then I failed him. And so I had to learn to forgive myself for both deaths because my son, I took it very personal for a long time. Even though everybody would tell me it wasn't my fault, I couldn't feel that. And so,
Mhm.
like, and the same with my brother. So it took a long time for me to just learn to love Michelle again and learn how to forgive myself and realize it's not my fault and there's nothing that I could have done differently, even though you always feel like I shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know what I'm saying? Because I had
Yeah.
to talk to my son. Like I had like to this day, it's almost unbelievable. Like I really can't believe he just gone. And so like I still go back and forth with denial and anger a lot. So
Wow.
and it's funny that you said that you went through the stage of not caring.
Yeah.
People don't like to talk about that either. And so I'm going to be very transparent.
Okay.
After I lost my son, I started struggling financially a lot, even to this day, because I stopped caring because I didn't care about anything anymore. I didn't care about bills. I didn't care about life. I was just like, nothing mattered to me anymore. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I always wanted to buy a home. And so I stopped caring about that. I always wanted nice. I just stopped caring. And so, like, one thing about it, bill collectors, they don't care that you're grieving.
Oh
They don't
yeah,
care
they
that,
don't.
things are going, but it's just like, it's almost like the world is still revolving and the world is still going on and continuing, and you're stuck. You're just stuck, and you're like, bills are steady adding up. Income is steady going out the door because you're grieving so hard you can't go to
Yeah,
work, and it grief is a mess. It's a
it
mess.
is. That I don't care stage is the dangerous stage that
Mhm.
I call it the dangerous stage.
Because you literally don't care about anything.
You don't care about nothing. You don't care about um people's feelings, hurt people
That's right.
during that I don't care stage. And I just remember meeting with my pastor one time. She wanted to meet with me, and she was like you're she I'm gonna say this. I'm glad for people that know me, right? And they know
Right.
your character, right? And they know who you are as a person. She knew I was not acting how I would normally act. She knew I was grieving. And she said to me, she was like, "You just act like you don't care." And I told her, and I knew this wasn't me because I looked at her and I said, "I don't," with a straight face. She said, "Stop saying that. You do." I said, "I don't care." I said, "At this point, everybody can get it." I was angry.
Yeah.
I didn't care who I hurt. And if I can be honest and transparent, Michelle, I hurt a lot of people
Yeah.
because I was hurting. And so I'm glad you brought that up. But we're gonna wrap this up. We're doing good. We did good on time. Look at God. Come on now. It wasn't too painful, was it? I
No.
do have one more question. Looking ahead, what are your hopes for the future regarding mental health awareness and suicide prevention? Especially in how communities can come together to support one another. Like, what do you have any other ideas? Have God given you any other visions or things to do in the future um,
I
concerning
would like to
suicide?
see more support when it comes to suicide prevention. I would like to see the conversations had that
Okay.
no one likes to have. I would like churches to start speaking about suicide.
Mm,
I would like churches to have mental health ministries. I would like to be able to teach and speak on mental first health aid in churches, in high schools, in community centers, anywhere where the youth is involved, anywhere where it's basically all ages. There's not really an age that I get asked that a lot. Is there an age that I target? No, because suicide has happened from young as 4 years old up
yeah.
until the
No,
elderly. You
four.
have a lot of 4 years old.
Wow.
Four has been the youngest I've seen. Yes. And then you have, it goes all the way up. And suicide affects everyone. You have the elderly that are now sick and they're no longer able to be dependent. They're no longer take care of themselves. They become suicidal because they no longer want to be in suffering. So suicide affects all of us. And I feel like as a community, we all can support and we all can help come together because it is such a hard subject. But if we just lead by example and make the conversation more normal when people are struggling, it won't be so hard to talk about. I want to see suicide become so common that it's a normal conversation and we're not cringing at the word of suicide like we are now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those words that I would say definitely is cringeful. But like you said, we need to have the conversation. When I was looking at some of the feedback in the chat, one of the things that Dr. House said, and let me see if I can find her comment, I thought was very, she said, 1 in 6 pastors have had thoughts of self harm or suicide as of 2023. So we need to have the conversations in the church. Is listen, I love a good preached word, but there needs to be a balance where we talk about real life issues that
Yes.
are having that are happening, and then also, how do we as a community or church, a body of Christ, help people who are suicide survivors, the families of those who may have committed the act, or even the families of those who may have had a family member that attempted but was not successful. Because I don't think we talk about that enough as well. People who have attempted, and how do we help them? How do we support them? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Going forward, um, for those who have weren't successful. So I think there needs to be more um, conversations about mental health issues. There needs to be more conversations about suicide awareness, prevention, awareness and prevention, and then also more conversations around how do we help?
Right.
How do we help? And I seen the clip of you and Dr. House the other day where well, I think it was today. I've been off social media. So for but I seen it today where y'all were talking about the stories in the Bible, and I was just like, hmm,
We actually
wow.
both went to the training at Baptist that I was talking about with the churches, and there's a lot of scriptures relating to suicide. And I was I was shocked. I've never heard them preached. I've never heard them taught on in that manner that I learned. So I was very insightful, because people always want to talk about, well, you commit suicide, you're going to hell, but they don't talk about the stories in the Bible of suicide's been going on for years and years, but
Oh
now
yeah.
it's just like it's happening every other minute. Like, it's
Yeah.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that class, is that class with Baptist Hospital? Excuse me. Is it something that's offered monthly? How often is that class available?
I'm not sure how often. Maybe Dr. House can comment. And
Okay.
it's with Dr. Joy Powell. She kind of leads that. I know she has monthly workshops that she hosts at Baptist, so we can kind of put it in the chat later once I find out that information.
Okay.
But yes, but there's so many resources. Dr. House always has classes. She always has free resources. And like, we just have to get out, get the information. Most of us that are with nonprofit, we're volunteering our time to make sure that you're educated and you are getting the information that you need. It's out there. Just get it. And
Yeah.
don't be so stuck on, well, it's not affecting my household, because it could tomorrow. But
Yeah.
you don't need to wait until it happens to learn about it. Learn about it now, so when it comes, you're already prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. Well, Michelle, is there anything that we did not discuss tonight that you would like to share before we leave the show tonight?
The only thing I would like to share is my nonprofits, which is Trauma Release Invest. I just want to give Trauma Release Invest. The how I came up with that. Not only is it named after Tridarius, because his nickname was Tri, but I didn't just come up with a name. I really put deep thought into my name, and so my thought process was, if we can recognize the trauma within ourselves,
Hmm.
release that trauma, and then invest in our mental health, that is how we prevent suicide. So
Yeah.
with that being said, this is a work that I'm just here to do what God asked me to do.
Hmm.
I always need volunteers, always need support. It doesn't cost anything to share information. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Trauma Release Invest Inc. You can visit my website, which is www.supporttry.org, and just continue to get the word out. I'm available. I am available 24/7. I don't have office hours, because I know suicide does not have a time limit on it. So I'm always
Hmm.
available. If you need anyone to reach out to, anyone to talk, don't ever feel like you don't have anyone. Suicide hotline is 988 if you're ever in a crisis situation. But I just want us to all just be in a habit of checking on each other, taking care of our own selves. And just so this week, speaking of my walk, so this week I have been doing working up to my walk. I've just been doing daily activities that I have been posting on social media. So they're not just flyers I'm posting. I really want the community to interact, and it's spreading hope and wellness for us to create normal behaviors moving forward. Like, today was my day of kindness. So it's not just a flyer I'm sharing, it's that's something I actually want you to participate in. So my day of kindness today, it was to do a kind gesture to anyone. So I paid it forward for someone that has been a very huge advocate in my life and very supportive. And so I just wanted to show a little token of appreciation. But it can be anything, giving a smile, asking someone how they're doing. Tomorrow, day 3, we're sharing resources. So anyone that you know may need resources, we're going to share the hotline, NAMI, Esclerosis Suicide Coalition, any resources that can be beneficial for them that may be in time of need, whether it be counseling, whatever it may be. That's what we're doing tomorrow. And so this will continue up until the walk so that we can kind of help you get in spreading hope before the walk, and hope to see you Saturday.
Okay. Well, thank you so much,
You're
Michelle.
welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I'm always honored anytime I get to be on a platform to be able to speak, because it's much, I tell people all the time, I'm still grieving. This is not an easy process, but it's a very necessary process. And I understand that. I understand the assignment God gave me. I knew it came with it when I answered the call. So I do take my time as well. God has equipped me with knowing when to take boundaries, knowing when to step away and take time for me. But I just want to help change lives and break the conversation around suicide.
Yeah. I'm so glad you came on. And I was praying because I was like, Lord, I don't want to cry tonight. I want us to just get through this, because I knew that this was going to be a tough conversation. But you see how God graced us tonight. He's so good. He's so good. But I knew it was going to be a tough conversation. But again, it's so needed. And I'm so glad that, you are being a voice for the voiceless, and you are speaking up and, speaking out about what is needed, especially in the Christian community, and how we as a community of Christian believers can show up by having the conversations, having the tough conversations, talking about it in our churches, and then also getting educated on it. Because again, there's a lot of things we just don't know. And the Bible says, my people perish for lack
of knowledge.
of knowledge. And so, again, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on tonight, sharing your truth, sharing your story, sharing what you're
doing. One more thing.
Sure.
So a lot of people don't know this, but all my passion for suicide doesn't just come from the loss of my son.
Okay.
I have my own personal experience with suicide. When I was 15, I attempted suicide, and I was in a mental hospital for 6 months to a year. So I know what it feels like to be hopeless, and I know what it feels like to feel like it would just be better off. So I have that experience behind me as well. So when I say I understand how you feel, I'm not just telling you something I heard. I'm not just, because I can advocate for my son all day, but I don't know how my son felt in that moment. I only know how the loss affected me.
Yes.
But when you have lived experience, and myself and Dr. House have both had that experience where we've attempted, and God's grace and mercy, we're still here. But I remember not having the resources and not having anyone to reach out. And so I'm an empath. So I truly feel the passion and the heartache of those that feel so lost that they feel like there's no hope. And so I just want to leave y'all with this. Just one more day. Today, you may feel like it's the worst day in the world, but if you can just make it to tomorrow, it could be a whole different outcome. You just keep pushing forward, one day at a time, one moment at a time. It's okay to cry. Let's get over that. It's okay to release, and it's okay to talk about your feelings, men included. I love for men to express
that. Again.
I love like that. You want to get open up and talk about it. You don't have to be tough with me. You don't have to be like, men don't have feelings. Men very much have feelings.
They do. They have emotions too.
They have a lot. They hold a lot.
They do.
So let's look after our strong men as well.
Amen. That's so true. I mean, going back to what Dr. House said, there's 1 in 6 pastor who either attempts to self-harm or have, committed suicide. So our men too, like, we need to have these conversations, not just women. We need our men. We need our brothers,
women, boys, girls, all of us.
Yes. We need everybody to step up and start having these conversations about suicide. But one of the things, men are emotional, Dr. House, and they are Dr. House. They are
We are.
very emotional. I don't know why they think they're not, but they're very emotional.
And it's
Um,
okay to be emotional.
God gave us emotions.
That's right. That's where our
So
feelings come from.
exactly. um, Dr. House did share in the comment the soul shop for black churches,
That's what it is. Yeah.
soulshopmovement.org. This organization helps with is it what is it exactly? It helps.
Training on suicide prevention in the black churches.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. I'll post that after this live, so that black churches, pastors, not just black churches, white churches, everybody
Everybody. Yeah.
can have access to it. And it's good. Like, I didn't know this. Again, we don't know
That's
because
right.
we perish for lack of knowledge. And this is so good. Thank you again, Michelle, for coming on. Again, thank you all so much for tuning into the Truth Conversations No One Likes to Have. Again, I'm your host. I was going to say guest. I'm your host, Evangelist Shawana Britsha. And our guest today, the beautiful Michelle Gant, came on and she shared her truth and her story. And I'm so grateful. Listen, this is the wrap up for this season. This is the last show of the season, Michelle.
Going out with a bang.
We going out with a bang. We going out with a bang. This is the last show of the season. But let me just say this, because I've got some what I want to say. I've been told off because this whole season I've had nothing but women on the show. So I've had some men say, I've watched your show and I ain't seen not one man on the show. What you got? You got something against men?
Well, you gotta have a season of men now.
I said, no, I have nothing against men. And it was hilarious the other day. I was like, no, I just, this is how the show, came about. And, I prayed about it. And each guest had already been scheduled in advance. And the guests just so happened to be all women. So anyway, whenever I start the new season, whenever that is, hopefully we can get some men on to talk about their truth, their stories, and things like that. So again, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Again, to the Truth Conversations No One Likes to Have. It's been a blessing to have you all on. Again, thank you, Michelle, and you all have an amazing rest of your night.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.